Hello. Jessica Anthony was born in Oneida, a small town in upstate New York I'd never heard of before I was doing this video, and has had a diverse career. Before becoming a novelist, she was holding jobs such as working at the meat counter of the Sea Market grocery store in Sitka, Alaska, and she was also teaching English in Poland and in the Czech Republic. She attended Bates College in Maine, where she studied creative writing. Her background of working in different kinds of fields and roles and countries has informed her unique storytelling style, blending satire, surrealism, and history across her novels. She now resides in a city called Portland, but not in Oregon, but in Maine. And she has written 4 novels. The Convalescent was her debut, came out in 2009, followed by Chopsticks in 2012, which is a multimedia novel that she co-authored with Rodrigo Corral. Entered the Aardvark in 2020, and most recently, The Most, 2024. Well, let's get to The Most, or as I would prefer it to be pronounced, The Most. Remember, Anthony worked as an English teacher in the Czech Republic, and in the Czech language, the word most means bridge. We'll get back to that in a few minutes, probably. This is a novel about a marriage. Kathleen and Virgil Beckett. These are the wife and the husband. They have 2 sons, and they live in an apartment complex that is called Acropolis Place, a little bit of piece of Greece here in Newark, Delaware. It's a small town southwest of Philadelphia, if you look on the map, and it's northeast of Baltimore, Maryland. Kathleen was once a very, very promising young tennis player. She could play Grand Slams probably, but after she had met this good-looking guy named Virgil, became his wife, gave birth to 2 children, well, she gave up tennis and she became a classical stay-at-home mom. Classical, that's the word, because the novel covers basically one day in 1957, and to be exact, it is November 3, 1957. The Russians have sent a dog named Laika into orbit aboard Sputnik 2, and everybody in the United States seems to talk about that event in world history on that particular day. Well, unfortunately, Laika did not survive the mission. She was alone in space. She died. On that November day in 1957, Kathleen Beckett finds her red bathing suit, you can see that on the cover, that she has not used in a long time, and goes down to the swimming pool of the apartment complex and gets into the water. Well, we speak of November the 3rd, 1957. How was the weather on that day? Well, you can look up anything on the internet nowadays, so I looked it up. The weather on that particular day was unseasonably warm, reflecting a mild autumn day, and the temperature was in the mid-60s Fahrenheit, or as we would say in Sweden and in Europe, 18 bis 20, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Kathleen gets into the pool and she doesn't get out. She stays there for hours and hours. Virgil comes and goes. He tries to get her out of the pool. He realizes that something is wrong, but she won't come out. Dinner is in the fridge, she says. You can warm it up, blah, 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 blah. The kids come home, wonder what their mommy is doing. Virgil, he's an insurance agent, and that makes me thinking of Willy Loman. He's also an insurance agent, if I remember it right. Arthur Miller's famous character in the play Death of a Salesman from 1949. Miller dealt with the unfulfilled American dream, and even the Becketts, they are far from being happy with their lives. Of course, they go to church each and every Sunday, as good Americans do. Quote, usually after the service, Virgil and the other men from Equitable lingered on one part of the church's front lawn in pressed suits and fedoras, smoking and talking business. Family, the free afternoon, while the women, crisp in their crinolines, lingered in the vestibule, chatting with the reverend, anticipating an afternoon of cooking and cocktails. That was the typical Sunday afternoon in Newark and Delaware, and maybe in other American cities too. Jessica Anthony creates a strong and vivid atmosphere on only 140 pages. Kathleen stays in that pool. The neighbors start looking from the windows Her skin takes up a wrinkled softness, of course, and at one point the author notes that Kathleen's skin loosens a bit on her heels already. Her refusal to get out of the pool shows that Virgil has completely lost control of his wife. In the 1950s, husbands were regarded as the heads of their families, and wives had little legal recourse if they disagreed with their husbands. They had almost no chance. There are secrets in the marriage of Virgil and Kathleen, as you might expect, as you might imagine, and these secrets will be revealed to us readers during that day. But the Becketts, they don't speak anything about those secrets. The dissolution of their marriage has been hidden under a veneer of normalcy. Rather than directly confronting Virgil, when a woman calls the landline and asks for Virgil, she chooses the silent rebellion of staying in the pool. She doesn't get out until he says what he has done. Quote, Kathleen knew that now, like it or not, from the swimming pool at Acropolis Place Apartments, with a November sky pinking dark above her, dried leaves blowing endlessly into her pool, things were about to change. It was getting cold. It wouldn't be long before she would have to get out, but she would stay in for as long as it took to come to make Virgil say something to her. Yeah. Jessica Anthony's excellent novel, The Most, or The Most, reminded me of the works of Claire Keegan from Ireland and also of Elizabeth Hay from Canada. It is Jessica Anthony's focus on subtly creating a strong atmosphere with a lot of emotional undercurrents, but also being rooted in simplicity that makes this book so outstanding and so beautiful to read. I absolutely loved it. It was longlisted for the National Book Award in the USA this year, and it is probably my most positive surprise read this year. Well, I owe you an explanation about The Most. So why is that novel, Jessica Anthony's novel, called The Most and not The Most? Because everybody who has studied English reads it as The Most. Well, The Most or The Most, it comes from tennis. Dennis, anyone for tennis? It comes from tennis, and when studying at college and playing tennis, Kathleen Beckett, the protagonist of this novel, she had a Czech tennis trainer from Czechoslovakia, a Czech guy, and he gave her strategical advice of playing tennis, and he put her in one position on the court, a position that he called the bridge. The bridge, which is in Czech the most or most. It is the bridge. And being in that situation, it's a position where you are supposed to sort of trap your opponent into. And once your opponent gets into that position on the court, on the bridge, most, then you can sort of pass him or her with a passing ball or smash or whatever and take the point. So the most is a strategical tennis thing. And that was what I forgot in the video. So this is my PS, and now it's DS. Thank you very much.